What's going on, team? Happy Thursday. Good afternoon to ya. Have a special show today. I actually have a special guest that's going to come on with me. We're going to talk about boots on the ground, what's going on in the real estate market. It's definitely kind of an eerie thing that's happening right now. Just a very big change of pace for me personally. I'm going to talk to my buddy Dan Parker, who is here. Dan, I'm going to bring you on right now. This is a high school production, as you know, so this is difficult for me. Let me figure it out. There he is.
There we go.
What's going on, brother?
Derrick? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yes. So let's talk like boots on the ground. Let me make sure I'm framed up well here. Okay. So like you and I are working this market right now. I know for me, this is the slowest that I've been, and I just work with buyers, so that's only one side of it. This is the slowest I've been since like literally when the pandemic hit and everything stopped for like 2 weeks. It doesn't feel quite like that right now, but it reminds me of how much time I had, discretionary time to like, what am I going to do with this time? Which for the past couple of years has not been a thing. So want to get your thoughts. I mean, we have a couple of stories here to talk about, but like boots on the ground, what are you seeing? What are you feeling right now?
Yeah, and I mean, luckily, if you have some free time, you just start to make some videos. So there's no, there's always things that we could be doing. But yeah, it's been interesting because rates really drastically went up a couple of weeks ago. Like I guess you could say anywhere from like 3 weeks to 6 weeks ago is really when we started to see it spike up. And there wasn't a change overnight, and it's just this weird scenario where things are coming and you're starting to see some signs, but it's not a light switch. So you're trying to feel things out. And there's no doubt I work primarily with buyers because I educate people on moving to San Diego. And I would say, I have people reaching out every single week wanting to move to San Diego and needing assistance. And I would say I have the least amount of people reaching out over the last month than I've had over the last, 2 years. So yeah, you're starting to see the effects of it for sure.
Yeah, it seems to me like, the simple psychology is that buyers want a deal, right? Like what does every buyer want? They want a deal. And this is one of the reasons why I feel like the market is ultimately stronger than people realize, because everyone who's bought a home in the last 2 years has a great rate and has a lot of equity. So they feel like they've got a good deal. So the concept, I don't know if you've saw Meet Kevin talk about how, his logic behind the real estate crash is just based on, well, people can only afford so much. And so if rates are up, then, this payment is what they're going to make an offer on. Like the market doesn't work that way. It's just not that simple. People who own homes right now feel like they have a good deal. Feel like, wow, we bought at the right time. Look, we bought, rates went up, prices went up. But people who are entering the market now, it's sort of, there's a changing of the guard going on where, okay, this is the new normal, and creating a new normal is always difficult. Like, I don't care if it's amongst your, group of friends where you're establishing a new normal. Like, hey, I don't want anyone to make fun of my hair anymore or something like that. Any kind of new normal that you're trying to create amongst a large group of people is always going to be a little choppy. Yeah. And so right now I feel like that's what's happening in this market where we're catching a new normal. But bro, like truth serum, we're still getting beat out on offers. Like the people I have out there who are rock stars who are trying to make something happen, it's still competitive. There's not like, I did have one, I will tell you, there was one offer this week that we got in that was an FHA offer that we got with effectively no counter. There was a counter, but it was so minimal it may as well not have been. And so that we haven't seen in a while, you know, but guess what? That seller still got full list price.
Well, if you look at the stats, let me make sure I just say this right. So if you look at the list price versus sales price was the highest that it's been since 2008 in April, at 4.1% over list price. And that's since 2008, because that's as far back as like the data goes for, kind of InfoSparks and the things that we use. So people are getting used to paying more and more, like you mentioned. And yes, there definitely are more properties are starting to sell on the market a little bit, and there are more opportunities to get homes under list price. But like the last two offers I just put in, luckily got accepted. But one of them was an $850,000 house, and we had to go to $1 million to get accepted.
No kidding.
And it was an offer higher than ours. Yeah, I mean, it's still happening. The properties that are the most competitive are still really competitive. but we're starting to see some opportunities out there. And that's why, like, I started this by saying it's a really hard market to read right now. We know that things are changing. They should be changing, but it's really, really hard to read right now.
I think it's just we're getting back to a little bit more of like location for a while there, especially through COVID. It's like people didn't care. Everyone was working from home. So like it didn't matter where the house was. You know, a lot of people were going up north to Temecula, Marietta, Winchester, French Valley over there. And wasn't a big deal. You know, it didn't matter. It's like, I don't care. What's the payment? What's the house like? That's where I'm going to be staying. Or in some of the neighborhoods with, let's say, not so good school districts in San Diego, you know, those places, it was just sort of a worldwide bull market. Like it didn't matter where the house was. I think that's going to change.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. What neighborhood it's in. And, you know, a lot of times when I'm working with buyers out there, it's like, there are some buyers that I work with that they'll send me maybe 1 or 2 properties every like 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, I really like that. This one's incredible. It's in my price point. Well, the reality is it's not in your price point because it's going to get bid up. Like there are multiple people that are looking at the area that it's located in, the upgrades, the number of bedrooms, the square feet. They're looking at all these factors. And the reason why it's standing out so like a value is because it wasn't priced appropriately. So those types of properties, for sure, they're still getting really, really competitive. And the other thing is like the properties that are, you know, you walk in, it feels like a model home. Those properties tend to just get this kind of raw emotion from buyers of like, this is just perfect. This is everything we want it to be. And they're willing to go a little bit farther. That's why there are people out there, fixing up houses, buying homes off market, fixing them up, selling them, staging them. All those things bring in a lot of money.
Yeah, the FHA offer I was talking about was actually a flipped home. It's beautiful, gorgeous,
really?
gorgeous. Yeah, I was super stoked for the buyer. I'm gonna try something here and see if this works. We're just kind of guessing a little bit. No, let's see, that didn't work. Can I bring you into that?
Can people still hear me if
yeah,
if
totally. Yes, that
okay,
I'm sure
that's good.
I'm getting that through. I'm just not sure how to get you into. Oh yeah, that did work.
Oh, there we go.
Sick. Okay.
We're learning.
So here we go. We got a few stories to talk about because I think each one of these applies to some aspect of our market, even if, you know, we're really looking at, you know, different elements than some people will be nationally. And by the way, I have Dan Parker on here. He's from Real Broker. He's also a YouTuber who focuses on helping people move to San Diego from other places. So if you're looking to move to San Diego from some other place, you can hit up Dan. I'll put his information in the description, everything for you. So the existing home sale, I love reading the headlines because you always get, no matter what, even when you know, like I went to journalism school, I know the people who write the headlines are not the same as the people who write the articles. I know how this is all set up, and it still gets me sometime, and this one got me. So existing home sales fell in April to lowest level since the start of the pandemic. I mean, that is a bearish article, right? Like that reads bad. That reads like, oh, real estate is now as bad as it was when we first thought that everyone was going to die from a disease. You know, that is a horrifically written headline designed to bring fear to the marketplace, designed to get clicks. And we just unpacked this thing, by the way. And basically, it's just sort of like a run on numbers, a play on words, essentially. What they're saying here is existing home sales declined. And we'll put this article in there. I want you guys to be educated on like how to read this stuff because you shouldn't be in a position where you're going to like fall for this stuff. And it's very easy to do. Like someone who's bearish on real estate will like forward this to their friend. Or like if the husband wants to buy and the wife doesn't, like she'll send him this article. And this guy,
The housing market is a very, very clickable topic right now. You know, people want the market to crash. So any headline that starts to make people think, you know, one way or the other, it's going to get clicks. It's going to get people reading. It's going to get people sharing. And that's how they make their money. So yeah, this one took me a while to understand. I still don't know that I fully understand this.
Let me do my best. For you. So existing home sales declined 2.4% compared with March. So seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 5.61 million units, which isn't very much, by the way. Sales were this is where they're getting the data from. Sales were 5.9% lower than April. So looking at year over year number.
Okay.
So sales were 5.9% lower than April 2021. That is the slowest rate since June 2020, which was artificially slow since the economy is struggling with sweeping shutdowns and the coronavirus. So it's the year-over-year rate is less than it was until you go back then to June 2020. So that really doesn't do a whole lot for me. What is interesting, though, is that if you look at the April data, which we tend to always have to look in the rearview mirror with this stuff. These are people who probably got into contract in February or March, which is what the next paragraph says, when mortgage rates were rising, but they were much lower. And that is kind of, I think, the important takeaway there is, this is also true. We have not settled into the new normal of what these rates are. And that is why we're trying to see kind of what is going on. But if I'm going to give some good news, interested in any good news, Dan?
Yeah.
This is mortgage bonds right here. So we look at this chart regularly. I've been telling you how I like the action that I'm seeing. We gained another 33 basis points today. Rates improved again, even though
for 2 months is that the chart is showing.
This chart is the 4.5% Fannie Mae bonds, mortgage-backed securities.
And over what period of time is that showing?
Oh, these are daily candles. Yeah, so this goes back to like the end of February right here. And so we can kind of see the trend has been very much, down. This trend line here was broken earlier. Let's see, right there. But you see it's still been in play. In fact, when we got that really nice wick the other day, when it looked like everything was going to hell, we actually closed above that old trend line. So it definitely came into play, and then we bounced off of it again yesterday. So my hope here, Dan, and I think it's what's setting up, and I don't know if it'll happen or not, but we've got a shoulder over here. We got a reverse head and shoulders in play with a head right here, and potentially if we can get this to kind of come up here and make another shoulder, we got a reverse head and shoulders, a big macro reverse head and shoulders, which would be super bullish for bonds. And it's really only a matter of time, guys, on rates. The big elephant in the room, of course, is the Federal Reserve, who's said they're going to clean up their balance sheet. They've said they're going to sell these mortgage bonds. I don't know if the market really believes that or not, but assuming that they don't dump sell orders onto this chart, it is setting up like the market is, because we know the Fed's not buying anymore. So at least we know these are natural buyers, right? So if these are natural buyers, they're attracted to 4.5%, which you're not even getting that. You're getting 4, but you're not even getting 4.5. You'd have to be down to priced at 100 here to get full 4.5. So with the price at 101.4, we're getting 4 point something percent, and investors are telling us that that's good enough. So I thought that might need to be higher, but if you think about it, the dollar has been strengthening. The DXY has been strengthening, even though we're in inflation, because the rest of the world is experiencing so much more inflation than we are. That's good for bonds, and that's good for mortgage rates. So there's some good news for you, Dan.
I like it. I like that you're to explain it, because I don't understand any of that side, which is why I'm happy that I get to connect with you and some other people I know really well in the lending side of things. So that's great.
It's good stuff. Now let's take a look at this. So this is probably more what is, I think, the big topic right now, which is just supply, and everyone's talking about, like, for example, we mentioned, I think off air, meet Kevin, he's been telling people that the real estate market's going to crash. And I like the guy, I think he's entertaining. I think he's smart, but just obviously not experienced. It's clearly his first rodeo, like all this stuff. And when you have an investor who's only been around through a bull market and just doesn't know what anything else looks like, they're not going to really understand shifts in the market. And in order for, a whole bunch of sellers to come to the table, they all have to live somewhere. So where are they going? And what he's saying is that they're not going to sell their home, cash out, and buy another home. He thinks they're all going to sell and go rent somewhere. And I think that's just a preposterous, just a silly prediction to make when most people who own homes, let's call it 99% of people, are sub 3% with a big equity. Why are they going to panic sell and go rent?
And where are you going to find a rental? That's the other question. Where that be like, I get people reaching out to me all the time that need to find a rental, and they're just getting destroyed trying to find something decent. Yeah, it's just
Exactly.
crazy. He's pretty far removed from being a real estate agent. I don't remember when he actually got into it, but I know that he was an agent before he got into doing all the things he does now. But yeah, pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
It is, and it's not, high rates isn't going to cause the market to crash. It causes the market to slow down, which is what's happening right now, and been expected, and that's what I've been preaching for a year now. That this was going to happen. So here we are. Now we're in it. What does it feel like? It feels weird. It feels slow. It feels like some people get it, some people don't. There's more of a discussion. There's more of an argument. Well, real estate's still the way to go. No, it's not. It's going to crash. There's more bifurcation there, but this is also sort of unavoidable. Tight housing supply fuels higher prices. Existing median home price rises 15% annually. So, we're still seeing, and you mentioned it earlier with your buyer who, was paying $1 million for the 850 listing. Even the one that I was talking about, which was a higher price point, where we have an FHA buyer who paid full list price for a really nice property, and multiple offers that we put out, very strong offers this week, which we did not get the property.
Yeah.
So there still is, I would say, if we look at supply and demand, the balance, there still isn't enough supply to really satisfy the demand as a whole.
Yeah, no question.
This may change. This could change in certain pockets. I hate to pick on Encanto all the time. I feel bad about it, but it's just one place where I know, like, people started to not care. In fact, some people were like, I'm super bullish on Encanto. I think that's the place to go. And for a little while, they were right. But there's certain places now where you're not going to get the buyers to go, yeah, we're willing to pay that payment for that house. And, that
Sure.
probably just isn't going to happen anymore. And that's why conservative old dogs like me,
Oh,
I like
that's
to tell you,
nice.
I like to tell you, buy in those places where you got good school districts, or it's coming up, it's getting there, because those kinds of places like Poway, they're not, you're not going to see when one of those entry level homes hits the market in Poway. There's no market for the rest of my life that will not eat that up.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. It's not like they're building new home developments in Poway. It is what it is. So there's certain places where it just makes a lot more sense if you want security and safety in your real estate investment than others. And I think that's really what I think we're about to see. We're about to see that come back to light, that, okay, location does matter. Even though a lot of people are working remotely, location does, in fact, still matter. Dan,
Just to kind of support that a little bit too, when I get people reaching out, the top two requests that I get would be they want a walkable neighborhood or they want a good school district. And the reality is there really aren't a ton of walkable communities in San Diego. There's definitely some really good ones, but there are plenty of neighborhoods that are in great school districts. So those are two very important factors. And just to kind of highlight that article as well, I think in San Diego, the median home price increase is closer to 20. It's like 19.8% from April to April.
Totally. This is, you're right. This figure, by the way, is national. So that includes like Arkansas, which is a beautiful state, by the way. Not picking on Arkansas at all. But prices are lower.
Condo, Arkansas. She's just getting ripped apart here today.
I have to pick on someone, and a lot of times it's myself, but everyone knows what's going on with my hair.
Check, please.
It's getting out of Dodge, just running straight away. So when you look at these things, you see these averages. That's averaging everything in. So a place like San Diego, still very undervalued in my opinion, is going to be on the higher end of those things. What do you think, Dan, about new construction? I've been working on a pre-approval all day today for someone who wants to buy new construction, and I'll tell you, there's a couple things that I've seen that are really interesting lately. Builders actually reaching out to me to say, hey, do you have a buyer? We have one that fell out, trying to find a fit, wanted to give you the opportunity. We like working with you. That just kind of sounds to me like, hey, we don't have anyone else on the list.
Yeah,
can you help us out?
And it's funny because I was talking to somebody this morning who had just purchased in 3 routes, and I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying. I mean, location is going to be number one. There's very little new construction in central San Diego, so something like 3 routes. You have Shea, you have Lennar, you have Cal West. Those are still going to be hot until they sell every last one of those homes. But if you go down to Otay Ranch, if you go up to Valley Center, if you like, those are the areas where we're seeing the most new construction in San Diego. And the reality is, like, people are making a sacrifice to live in those areas to get newer construction. And it kind of like you were saying earlier, it kind of gets to a point where it's like, all right, I'm spending this much money on a house to be this far away from everything that we want. So yeah, I think that's absolutely happening, especially in those areas. Some of the more like smaller new construction communities that are a little bit more central. Like there actually is a new community. I don't remember the name of it that's about to open up in Poway, but it's like, I forget what it is, like, 30 or 50 homes, something like that, like really, really small community.
Right.
And I think all those are going to do just fine as long as they're not outrageously priced. And then the other thing that I always suggest with new construction is just make sure that you're working with a good builder. I'm not gonna name names on this, but there are one or two that I would highly recommend to avoid, just because of their quality of service, the building materials that they use, everything from top to bottom. It's just, they're not good companies to work with when you can choose from other builders.
I'll just tell you straight up, Dan, as far as new construction is concerned, hated it. Can't stand it.
Hate it?
I hate it. Hate it. Now, I do, and it's not just because the builders, lenders are always doing these crazy things to try to steal people away and like make sure that they don't have any representation. But just it's replaced for when I grew up, people would warn you about going onto a car lot. That, hey, they're going to try to swindle you. They're going to try to give you nothing for your trade-in. They're going to try to do all these things. This is what the new home builders do. And it is like the same tactics. It's ultimate profiteering. They want to try to maximize their profit on you when you walk through the door. And they want to get you unrepresented. That's goal number one. So they don't want you to contact your agent. They don't want you coming in with it. In fact, if you have an agent and they don't come with you when you walk into that new build,
show up the very first day. Yep.
They're out of the picture. And then they will, of course, try to get you to use the in-house lender, which I know is mostly for them just about being able to stay updated and organized because they pretty much give away the mortgage. But it's mostly about trying to keep you unrepresented. I've seen some crazy stuff, man, where, we in contract with someone and it was during when prices were going way up, and 6 months later when we're about to close, the house is worth like $80,000 more than what she's in contract for. And they did everything they could to try to blow up the deal on us. Everything they could. We jumped through so many hoops to get her that house. But we did. We got it for her. And so, like, it's just dirty to me. I don't like it. I don't like the way it's done. I don't like the fact that they cut out representation. I think agency is important when you're doing such a big deal, and just the fact that they try to cut that out right off the bat for me is no bueno. And then, just the ultimate profiteering angle of it. And listen, I get it. Like, it makes sense. If you're a builder, you have to shell out a tremendous amount of money to get this going. It takes years and years and years before you sell a house, right? 2, 3, 4 years before you actually sell a house and bring any revenue in. And that whole time, you're going to, did I lose you? Hold on a second. I think I lost Dan somehow. Oh, there he is. He's back. Okay.
I don't know what happened. I froze and rebooted. I'm back in, guys.
He's in. So, so like these new home, the new home builders, to me, they just sort of embody everything that's wrong with the way business is done. And now they're going to start crawling back to realtors again and trying to get people in, even though they've shunned them and reduced commissions and try to cut them out of so many deals. But the macro issue I have beyond the ethics is just when you buy a new home, today, you're having to pay for all of the extra red tape that these builders have to go through. Melrose is crazy. HOAs are crazy. They're going to max the price out for sure on you. They can get as much as they absolutely can out of it. And so you're really paying top dollar for that product. I'll never forget this, Dan. In 2014, I sat down with Michael Harris, who was the president of the Building Industry Association. He told me, listen, buy a house with an acre of land, if you can find one, half acre, whatever, house with a real yard. Because I guarantee you they're not going to build them anymore ever here. So whatever houses there are with the nice yards, that's how many there's going to be. Not going to be any more built. And he was dead serious. And I kind of laughed. And I was like, oh. And I've been telling people that story ever since. And the people who've listened to me over the years, they're very, very happy right now. Not just because real estate's up, but because it's true. They're not building anything like that. Everything is right next to each other. It's on top of one another. It's postage stamped lots. It's building vertical. And the builders have to do that because they have to make a profit. I get it. It takes years before they have any revenue in their business model. They're out millions of dollars out before they get to make their first sale. It's got to be nerve-wracking. It's a crazy concept. I could never do it personally. Just I don't have the stomach for that from a business standpoint. But at the same time, is that what's in the best interests, of the buyer? Is that really the best value? I think not. That's just my 2 cents. Are you there, Dan? Oh, I lost him again. Well, back to just me. Let's see if I can get Dan back. I wonder,
I
are
don't
you back?
know what's going on. I keep getting booted out and back in, so hopefully it lasts this time.
It's coming back though. You're coming back, man. So what do you think?
There we go.
I mean, I know I'm ranting here about builders. Obviously I have a strong opinion on it, but what are your thoughts and your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. These businesses they're trying to make money, and some of them are way more ethical than others. Like I have a client working with Shea Homes and Three Roots, and I thought it was the coolest thing. They actually had. She's not moving into her place for a couple of months still, but they had a meetup for like all the people that are going to be neighbors and like just talk to everybody and make some friends. And so I think it really depends which builder. It's gonna depend a lot on that. I've been doing a deep dive into new construction coming to San Diego, and I'm going to continue to do a deep dive. What I really don't like to see, for one, is we're just not having enough. We need more homes. That's what we need in San Diego. So we need everywhere, but in San Diego, we need more homes. What I really don't like is I'm seeing a lot of apartment complexes being built. So then it just takes away the opportunity for someone to become a homeowner, whether it's more dense property or not. Like I think we do need more density in San Diego. Most people don't want it, but I think we need it in San Diego. But I'd rather see more homes being sold than these big apartment complexes being built, which from what I've seen so far, looks like about 25 to 30% of the new construction that's coming to San Diego is in the form of an apartment complex that is going to be rented versus being sold to somebody.
Yeah, I know you're subscribing to some cool stuff to like get access to all that data for what's coming down the pipe, which is really cool. In fact, that's probably what we should do next. The next video we do should be around that. Like, hey, what is new? What opportunities are there out there? Is it just Millennia and South Bay, or like, what is there something else? And I know there's different those little pockets there can be some gems in there, and there's some infill builders that are doing 2 and 3 different lots in different places and stuff. And there's always flipping going on, so there's different options that people have, and I think those options will increase. I think we will see inventory slowly climb as we are in this period of consolidation, figuring out what is the next step. People have been asking me this question a lot lately, Dan. Is now a good time to buy a home? Well, in truth, the best time to buy a home is 20 years ago. That's always the right answer. And so I can always tell you that. It's always 20 years ago. So when you want to start the clock. And that's really the answer to the question. Now, will people get burned badly buying real estate in today's market? I don't think so, because and that's really why people ask that question. Am I going to get burned? If I buy a house today at these prices, at these rates, am I going to get burned? And the reason I emphatically think that's not the case is because I don't see a big retraction in prices, although maybe they come in a little bit, especially in some areas they come in a little bit, but not a huge amount. There's no crash coming. And most likely, and it could be sooner rather than later. We were looking at the chart earlier. I mean, the reverse head and shoulders here that's setting up is very classic. I mean, this is super, super classic reversal, head and shoulders reversal on a really macro bad downtrend. I mean, if we zoom this thing out, let's just say go back to January of last year and take a look at this thing. I mean, that's the mortgage bond chart. So it's been ugly. Oh, we're in the way. Hold on. Let me take us over here. We are, it's been ugly. So I feel like if you think that it's going to get worse from here, the likelihood of that is probably less, right? Because let's see here. Oops. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at high rates right now, there's a chance it could continue to go up. But I think what I keep hearing over and over again, we talked about this when you were on my channel, is there's a very high likelihood that even if it's not immediately, in the next 1 to 2 years, that rates won't be back down again, and you can have an opportunity to refinance. So if you're looking at from a point of, oh dang, I missed out on these amazing rates, and now my purchasing power is $100,000 less, or how much ever extra money that means per month that you're going to be spending. I think there is a very high likelihood that you're going to have the opportunity to refinance and get that rate down.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very strong possibility, which could come sooner than later. But I've been telling people, a year and a half, 2 years, maybe it takes 3 years, but it might be a lot sooner than that. I mean, it could be 6 months. If the market believes that the bad inflation data is behind us, remember, we just got a pretty bad inflation number. It was worse than expected, and the markets and mortgage bonds still went sideways. So I think that the expectation in the market is so bad already that even a little bit of bad news really didn't move the needle much. I think what you're seeing on the chart right now, right here, this is what it looks like when the Federal Reserve is buying mortgage bonds. And then as you go to the right, what it looks like when they stop. I mean, that's what I think you're seeing here. And now we're trying to form a new normal down here, a new range. And it's just going to take a little bit of time. But to think that things are going to get so much worse when they've already gotten worse, a lot of the negativity, a lot of the downside is already in my opinion. So there isn't a whole lot more that could happen here unless the Federal Reserve decides to market sell order a whole bunch of bonds, which would be so dumb. Unless they did that and just crush the market on purpose, which would be crazy, I think that we're seeing a leveling off taking place. And we're losing Dan relatively regularly. It's got to be an internet connection thing or something, right?
My internet's, I keep checking the websites every time that happens, and it seems like it's fine. I don't know if it's, I don't know.
Could be mine. Who knows?
For sure.
Could be Ecamm. Come on, Ecamm.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Just giving you an opportunity to talk to your people.
Well, yeah. So here, thank you. So let's look at this. So here's one more thing, Dan, I got for you. All right, let me see if I can get us out of the way here.
And while you're pulling this up, I can also say that, we're talking about, and I get this question all the time. This is big on people's minds right now for considering buying a house. Is this a good or a bad time to buy a house? Well, in ways, it's better than it was a month ago, 2 months ago, because that was the toughest market that I've ever experienced for buyers. You'd have to go through more often than not. You'd have to get disappointed time and time again before you actually got an offer accepted. I mean, I have a very high success rate at getting offers accepted, but this year was tough. Now you're at least in an opportunity where you have more to choose from. I'm looking at some of the property searches that my clients set up on, and it's like usually I'm going to see on a daily rate, like maybe 3 or 4 houses meeting their criteria, whereas now I feel like it's more around the 10 to 12 range. So there's more homes hitting the market, which is great. And then if you're concerned about the market coming down, all you have to do is just look at a graph of active inventory in San Diego, and that's going to tell you the whole story. We've had a seller's market since 2012 in San Diego, and we've averaged about 6,000 to 7,000 homes for sale. We've had as high as 12,000 homes for sale active inventory, and right now we're down to 2,500. I mean, it's not even comparable. That whole time was the seller's market. So to think that we need 10,000 homes to hit the market just to get somewhere near a neutral market is like unfathomable for San Diego. So yeah, I mean, we got a long way to go.
Yes. Very good points that you make there. I'm still playing with this to try to figure out how it works.
I like the backdrop. It always makes me nervous when you bring me into the screen by myself.
I don't know, man. Okay, here we go. There it is. Okay. I have to play with this because I'm really not a producer. And when I'm doing my one-man show here, it kind of is what it is. Here's one thing I wanted to leave everybody with. nice positive note. How about that?
So,
Is, did you know, and I just posted this on Facebook, you can buy multi-unit properties with FHA loans, only 3.5% down payment. 2022, here's the max loan limits. Look at this. You can buy 4-unit with an FHA loan. You got to own or occupy. Almost 1.7 million your loan amount can be. Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
And I just went ahead and threw one on here that's a 4-unit for 1.5 in 92102. Looked pretty sweet. So I threw one in there. I can't remember the guy's name. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but you know the guy who dresses like Uncle Sam in Point Loma? Robert something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
it's
remember
his
his
listing.
name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's his listing. And that's a 4-unit that's like in really good shape and everything, and it's 1.5. So, it's a matter of what you're looking for. If you're looking for negative news, like, trust me, you're going to find it. Like, they will put up articles like this. They will do the clickbait thing. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to be there. So you can do that, or you can look for opportunity. And all I did was spend 10 minutes and go, where's an opportunity in this market? What's possible? And I thought about, someone who didn't want to put a lot of money down, but who wants to own real estate, who wants to own doors. There it is. And it took me less than 10 minutes to find a property that was smoking. So, it's just a matter of what you look for. You're going to find it, Dan. That's what I'm going to leave it with today.
And I'll add to that as well. There are new rules with Airbnbs in San Diego and the city of San Diego, and about half of the current Airbnbs are going to, all the Airbnbs are going to be a lottery system, and about half of them are going to lose their license because of how many Airbnbs the city of San Diego is allowing. It's going to be 1% of properties. But there's 4 different tiers. If you are in tier 1 or 2, it's no problem. You can still have an Airbnb. And tier 2 is if you live in the property. So if you live in one of those units, you can rent out or Airbnb short-term rental the other 3 units. And you're going to make, more than likely, you're going to be in a situation where you can get a lot more money per month than you would if you were going to just rent it out.
Yeah! All we want to do is pump you up.
Dude, such a genius
one of
point to
those.
make. Beautiful point to make. And it totally set my mind. You're right. As long as you live on the property. So the Airbnb rules are really for like investment properties. If it's your primary residence, then you're good to go. So that's why like ADUs have made a lot of sense for people. Build an ADU, Airbnb it, and you can make coin with that on a property like this.
Baby.
What's that?
House hack.
Yes. Oh, yeah, house hack for sure. House hack the heck out of it. Airbnb rooms all day. But like this, for a property like this, man, the opportunity is crazy. Especially 92102, that's a good place to have something like that because it's close to the airport and downtown and all the convention center and all that stuff. So, you have an opportunity. And I'm not like pushing this property or anything, but I just spent 10 minutes looking for one opportunity. I'm like salivating over it. So there's opportunities out there. There's stuff that is in great favor for someone to come along and take advantage of it when there's negativity in the market. So this will be the final point. When there's negativity in the market, when there's fear in the streets, that's when you're supposed to be greedy, right? Remember the Warren Buffett rule? Be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy. That's like the golden rule to investing. Notice the amount of fear that's being pumped into this market. Notice the headlines. Pay attention to this stuff. Notice the headlines. Notice what people are saying. Watch people get hesitant. Watch people get anxious. Watch people punt. Watch it happen. And then see what the market's actually going to do. Because most people say they want to crash. Most people that say they want to buy in a soft market, they want to buy in a bear market, they want to buy in a buyer's market. But when it comes, they don't actually do it. They get scared, just like everyone else. When it's a good time to buy is usually when everyone else is scared. And that's why it's so hard to do it. It's so hard to pull the dang trigger because it doesn't look good. And that's why it's a good time to buy. So I'll just tell you this. A lot of what is bad that could happen in this market has already happened. And if there is more bad, there really can't be that much more. even if we have a soft economy, even if we do see, jobs come in a little bit, even if we do see some retraction, both Walmart and Target reported ugly quarters. Do we think that's going to happen again, though? Do we think Target and Walmart will report bad quarters again and again? Or is it just one of those things where it's like, okay, the momentum came out of it a little bit. People are feeling the inflation. They're feeling, the effect of higher gas prices. They're feeling the effect of a supply crunch. They're making adjustments in their budgets. But are they going to do that again next quarter? Or is it just a one-time thing? My guess is that it's not something that's a sustainable thing. It's something that's more of a one-time event. These things are sort of all apexing together. If I'm right about what's going on with this chart, I usually am. I've been wrong before. I'm usually right. This looks like we are finding a new normal for interest rates, and that will give the market confidence. One of the things, Dan, that I've been talking about this week on my channel is how mortgage bonds haven't really been going anywhere, but rates have been getting better. And what's going on with that is that, banks always have to hedge the future when they're issuing pricing. And then there's also the level of competition amongst the banks. And so as a broker, you get to see it. You have a front row seat for this. And so like there was a situation where I was able to flip a loan, and we do that regularly when rates improve, from one bank to another, where bonds had actually gotten worse from the time we locked it until the day we flipped it. But her rate got 0.25% better going from this bank to this bank. How's that possible? Well, banks cutting their margins. They're getting the pencil out. They're getting the eraser out and saying, hey, let's sharpen this pricing up and go get some market share. And guess what? It worked. I flipped a loan from one bank to the other. Got her 0.25% less. So when they start to get competitive like that, it means they feel, their prediction is, their bet is that the market is stabilized. And they don't need to have all that extra cushion in it. They don't need to have all that extra margin in it to protect themselves from a big move in the wrong direction. And so that to me was the key moment where I said, okay, my thesis here is now I'm going full bore onto this, because these banks have guys smarter than me. They have, people looking into this stuff at a much greater depth than I'm able to. And if they feel confident in that situation, I will feel more confident in my prediction. So, Dan, thanks so much for coming on, bro. It's great to have you.
Got it. Yeah. And now I feel confident too. You just made my day. I like that a lot.
There you go, bro. There you go. Hey, I'll get you to subscribe one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Dan, appreciate your time. Hey, guys, share this with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else. And we'll see you all again soon. Take care. Have a good night.